Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Renee Tompkins with Lair Social Media, here today with another monthly masterclass. Today's agenda, we'll be going over proving your value. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the current market for agents that are going to need to prove their value. I don't know that we can continue to always be doing the same thing and expecting the same results. I think you'll notice a shift in the market where we might be competing for a lot more business than we used to. So proving your value is going to be super important. Also, I'll share with you content ideas to show your worth, your full commission, and then getting followers. This will be more for newer agents, but certainly if you're frustrated with staying at that same number or teetering back and forth between 5 and 10, how to really amp up your following, and then other online sites to grow your brand, as well as some calls to action and hook statements that I do use in your social media, but also if you're a recorder of videos, you can even use these calls to action when you are speaking to people in person. So I'll share with you several examples to use. And then I actually was going to share some forms and PDF downloads, but I want to get into that in our next segment because there's a whole section on our Lair branded website where you can create landing pages, and I think a lot of agents aren't taking advantage of that. So we'll get more into that next month. And then as we always do, talk about mindsets for success, and I'll share my book for the month. You all know I'm a avid reader, and I've got a great book for you this month. And I don't know if anybody has read The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, but that was my recommendation for last month, so I will talk about that too. Anyway, expectations for today's masterclass, as always, is to maintain a growth mindset, be open to making results-based changes in your business that will grow your business. That's the intent of this masterclass, is for people that actually want to step out of their comfort zone and grow their business on social media and other outlets as well too. Also take notes and interact by asking questions and sharing stories, and challenge yourself to develop your own social media success strategy. So let's get into the first topic. Before we do, I always like to share a mindset quote, and that is, don't strive to be well known, strive to be worth knowing. So this is, always coming from contribution, always providing value. And I think there's so much opportunity. In fact, I don't think I know there's so much opportunity for that on social media. So let's talk about how you can prove your value on social media. First off, I would recommend, getting it out on paper. So write a value proposition. Actually sit down, get a notebook, and really think about what it is that you do for buyers, sellers, investors, and break it down into before, during, and after. And you might think, well, like one time I'll never forget, and this is more of a sharing, a sharing of a story, but I put this in because hey, I did it. Cleaning the house, prepping the house. I even babysat, not like how traditionally how you would think of a babysitter coming over to the house and babysitting for the parents, but I watched their children as they were signing all the closing documents and stuff. So just, and again, that's more of a sharing a story. But again, write it all down, and you would be surprised at how much these little things that you're doing add up. I think we even take sometimes for granted some of the things that we do and don't really think it's a big deal. But I will say this, I didn't realize in my own mind as I was selling my own house, all the work agents do. And yes, I was my own client, but it put a lot into perspective for me. I was just like, oh my gosh. And it also put a lot into perspective about what sellers go through too. But again, start by jotting it all down. And then, use this value proposition during consultations, and even share bits of it as you're posting and sharing stories on social media. If you lack inspiration for your value proposition, you can go to nar.realtor and then go under the search field, just type in 179 ways, 179 ways, and this will come right up. And this is a PDF download that you can print out. And there's also, if you look underneath, there's also an additional link for 105 more ways. So NAR actually did the work for you. But I don't think that, again, these are facts. And a lot of what we're going to talk today about is going to be based off of storytelling. So what they did was uncover the facts for you. But what you need to do now is craft your story around that. So great inspiration if you happen to be lacking it. Again, these are two separate PDFs that you can download. And you can share this stuff with your, as you're meeting with clients. But I feel like it's just too generic. I feel like, yes, if you're going to share a PDF, then make it customizable and make it something that's targeted and focuses on you because it's you they're hiring. But also get really good at really epic storytelling. All right. And here's what not to do on social media or print advertising. And it's something I see so many agents do. Now, there's a story behind this, so let me dig a little deeper on this. And first off, I would say avoid sharing posts on social that say, sold in 2 days or sold in 48 hours or whatever. I think that isn't, again, that lacks the story. Yes, it sounds like, wow, that house sold quick. I wonder what happened. But again, you've got to craft the story because that is where you showcase all the effort and work that you put into it. When you say stuff like sold in 2 days, some people might think, well, geez, it doesn't sound like you worked really hard at that. You know what I mean? So again, the result was good, but I think we have to get into sharing more. We have to dig deeper and showcase the value that we provided to our clients, the bottom line. What did we do to get that house sold in 2 days? That's the real story. So again, paint the picture of every single thing that you did for that client, pre, during, and post, because that's what we do. We don't just, take out our cell phone, take a couple of photos, pop them in the MLS, throw a lockbox on the house and, cross our fingers. Maybe some people do, but layer agents do not do that. So we have to get really good at articulating our value. And first, let me say this, a lot of agents struggle with being too boastful, with being too arrogant or, whatever. And they tend to judge other agents who are out there saying, hey, I did this for my seller. I think it's great. I think it's great when people can share a success story and say, it wasn't all peaches and cream or, rainbows and puppies. It was challenging getting this deal closed. Here's what happens. Here's what happened. And here's how I addressed it and solved the problem. So that is how you tell a really great story. Just sharing facts. Yes, you're getting your word out there. I'm not saying not to do that, but I'm saying go much deeper than that and share the bones of the story, the frustration or the excitement, all of it. Get really good at articulating that. So some of the things that you can do, some content ideas to sharing successes. Sold above the Zestimate. These are also sort of like hook, uh, titles that are going to be like, oh, how'd they do that? Because usually the Zestimate is higher, right? So when you say sold above the Zestimate, that's pretty cool. Going above and beyond. We exceeded the average sales price. I think any seller would be like, yeah, I want to know how they did that. How I became the problem solver, or how I solved this huge stress. It took, remove the stress from my clients. My clients were hugely stressed. Here's how I solved their problem. Sold for under asking if you're a buyer's agent. I mean, that's a success. I listed and sold a FSBO for over asking. I shared this story recently on my social and on YouTube because this was a huge win for my clients. I shared the story about how they were listed with a previous brokerage, and that listing ended up expiring. So it was two wins. They were expired in a FSBO. They went FSBO after that and still nothing. They received a flyer from me and I ended up listing the property. And I shared the story about some of the tweaks that I made. And by finding out what didn't work, I was able to address it. If you don't know what's not working, you can't fix it. So huge, huge story there. And I also linked this video in my link tree. So this video is on my social, it's on my YouTube, and as I add more content and that video moves down on my social, it's always on my in my link tree. So great way to showcase content there. And then I found and secured the home my veteran client wanted in a competitive market. How many times have we heard veteran buyers getting beat out or, just feeling so helpless during, during these competitive markets. So I think that's a huge win story to be sharing. And again, details, share the details. So as you crafting your story, talk more about more about the emotions and less about the facts. I think, yes, you certainly want to share the end result and how the client came to you, but really focus on the emotions and the problem you solved for them. And that's a huge win. Another thing that you can start sharing are client journeys. This is a series now. This will be a series that you create. And so here are some suggestions to do for a buyer's agent, where you create, obviously the whole thing hasn't happened yet. So you're recording things as they happen with the client's permission, or just sharing your own take on it, during the process. But here's some things you can do is your excitement about meeting with new clients, right? So you check into the office, you maybe videotape the conference room where you're showcasing your buyer guides, your branded pens, your water. Maybe you've got a TV in your conference room and you can showcase a slideshow with, your branding on it as well. Maybe you've given them a tchotchke bag, a branded tchotchke bag, again, whatever your process is. But I think some of that is cool to share on social media. So that's the first video snippet. The next one is your excitement. So you're actually recording a video after the initial meeting about, how excited it went, how excited you were to meet with them, how it went. So you can do that before and you can do that after the consultation. I think the more content, the better. And then perhaps you can do either some videos of the showings that you've done or just a sort of a snapshot of all the houses you've shown them. And what would be really cute is like a thumbs up or a thumbs down from them in front of each house. I always think that's such a cute idea. And tell them what you're doing. I mean, I think they would love it. And then the elation of finding the one. And not only that, but getting the offer accepted. I've shared several stories where I've had to like pull the phone away from my ear because my clients were so over the top excited, in tears, and how emotional it was for me as an agent showing them the house and knowing, after showing them 12, 15, 20, 25 homes, when the client has found the one. And now you're all teared up in the house because it's been a journey for you too as the agent. So talk about that. I think that's so impactful. And then the home inspection process. Maybe, if the home inspector is not cool with being on video or anything, that's all right. That's all right. You can still get in front of the camera and talk about, everything. I wouldn't put out anything on social media though until things have been tied up on that. Negotiation wise, I wouldn't talk about anything that might, um, you know, sabotage your negotiation effort. So wait until anything, everything's been settled up. And then the contract to closing process, which could also include an appraisal issue, you know, and maybe again, solving another problem for your client was negotiating or meeting halfway where the seller wasn't willing to budge or, so these are stories that I think many people would love to hear. And then also the final walkthrough, what to expect, if it's a first time home buyer or maybe not even, but perhaps there were issues at the final walkthrough. and so what to expect as a result. That sort of thing that goes on in a final walkthrough, where it's not necessarily a reinspection, so to speak, of the property, but it is to ensure that the property is being conveyed as expected. And that includes the exterior of the property as well as the attic if there's one, the basement if there's one, storage shed, underneath the house, across. I mean, it includes everything. So I think buyers would definitely benefit from hearing that. And then client testimonials, whether they be written or on video, I think showing them on social media is key. And again, don't really feel like you're being too boastful. That is a success story. And you've earned that review. You should certainly share it. If it's on video, all the better. But regardless of the format, you should obviously be sharing your successes. And then I would also be creating a highlight on Instagram so that your, new visitors to your page can easily visit, you see all of your testimonials just by scrolling through your highlight. So some great suggestions there for buyer journeys. And here are some for sellers. Again, I would do the same thing regarding your excitement about meeting with new sellers before and after the consultation. So if you're meeting with them at their house, perhaps maybe you just take a shot, a photo of what you're bringing, or you're maybe a quick video of you preparing for the consultation. And then, another one of the home prep and the staging, what you're doing to help them get their home ready for a successful sale. If your marketing the home is coming soon, as well as the live listing. So once the listing goes live, I would really hesitate to just share the MLS link. I mean, I would really be showcasing a video. I would certainly include a link to the individual property website. Because remember, every time you showcase a listing, potential buyers are silently interviewing you and watching what you post to see how you market other listings. So if all you do is just, throw out the link to the MLS, and yes, maybe you did hire a photographer, which is great, but there are so many other ways to market listings than just having professional photos done. So keep that in mind. And then the open house video tour. This is something that I would be doing before the open house. And make sure that the house is obviously ready, camera ready. And so that may require that you come early, but also have a conversation with the sellers about. And also the open house video tour should be a teaser video. You shouldn't be previewing properties or doing, as I said, the open house and showing the whole house. Because again, you want people to reach out to you. And I think if we showcase the whole house, then they get their answers. They don't need to reach out to you. I like to provide just a teaser where I might introduce myself in front of the house and let them know how long I'll be there and showcase just one or two rooms and just invite them to join the open house. Obviously, with an additional call to action. If you cannot make the open house, send me a message. I'll be glad to schedule a private tour for you. And then obviously another part of the seller journey here is, and this would be great to showcase, is reviewing meeting with sellers to review offers, keyword offers, plural. And if it's great if you have a whole stack of them that you can, share. Again, not sharing the details of the offers, just that you have multiple offers, and that's super exciting. And then once they accept an offer, and then again, contract to close, how you might be helping them, perhaps reminding them of timeline issues or dates or obligations, making sure that certain inspections are required, things are completed before closing. These are things that, again, I think not the average person doesn't know that we do these things. So reminding them that we do them, I think, is part of this client journey series would be super impactful. And then at the end, the client testimonial, written or on video, I think would be huge to include. Again, don't shy away from doing those things. I think people get people get testimonials on Zillow or even on our Lair website and just leave it at that. They don't take the time to showcase it on social because again, they don't want to brag or be boastful, but that's not it at all. I think you're sharing how you helped someone, and there's huge value in that. So let's talk about content suggestions to prove your worth, your full buyer agent commission. Um, and again, we're going to focus a lot on epic storytelling. And these are some content suggestions on how you can share some cool stories. How I found my client their dream home before it hit the market. Have you ever coordinated a sale that on a house that wasn't even listed yet? So share that. Um, or even, how say the client couldn't even get to see the house, how you showcase the house to them, through what's it called? FaceTime. So, and again, I don't know that I would share this and say this was in lieu of an actual showing and they made an offer. I don't know that that's a great story to tell, but it is sort of, yes, you showed them the home virtually before and had them made the decision to come see it in person then if they really wanted to see it. So that's another problem solving thing that you did, and you shared the story. How I got my clients accepted offer in a competing offer situation. So there's lots of scenarios that we can share about that. Pre-offer home inspection, escalation clause, all extended timelines, lease backs, all that. How I help my client with a 520 credit score become a homeowner. That's pretty cool. And I realize the lender does most of that heavy lifting, but you're a catalyst in that scenario. So, and how I got my buyer a lower interest rate. So that would sort of be your buy down. I love these story, and I feel like they're hooks in themselves. They're captivating enough for somebody to want to proceed and hear more. Showcase your expertise, why it's not just about the price. Talk about as a both as a buyer and seller, why it's not just about the price, how timelines are important. Contingencies need to be definitely, addressed and understood. The type of financing needs to be understood. So there's a lot more that goes into it. The red flag deal breakers, right? Talk about the appraisal is a huge deal breaker. So that needs to be talked about. First time home buyer mistakes worth avoiding. One of those I can say is skipping a consultation with a buyer's agent and thinking they're just going to open house hop and work directly with a listing agent. I would say that's a mistake. So talk about that. And then how to have a home inspection without the contingency. So some various scenarios that how that can play out in various ways. And then final walkthrough red flags. Obviously, make sure that one red flag is not doing doing a repair walkthrough the day of the final walkthrough. I would say the repair walkthrough should be done at least a week prior to the final walkthrough. I know it depends on the timeline and a lot's going on in the situations, but if you can arrange a repair walkthrough separately of the final walkthrough, that still gives you a week to finalize anything that is still lingering. I think the final walkthrough red flags, that's a huge video or something that you can post about. One of them, like I said, is the repair, separating the repair walkthrough from the final walkthrough, but also making sure that the house is thoroughly checked to make sure everything is removed as it should be, or if the buyers are expecting certain items to remain, that they're there. So, and also about expectations. I think some buyers think that it is a reinspection of the property. And really it's to ensure that the property is being conveyed as expected. So yes, they can turn on the water, they can do certain things, but really it's just to make sure the property is being conveyed correctly. And then don't be shy. And this is where we talk about, agents might feel that it's too boastful to share this stuff. But I say, if, showcase what you bring to what you bring to the table for your clients. This is your job. You're building a business, right? It would be the same thing as a restaurant owner having these phenomenal menu items, but not really telling anybody what's in the dish, right? So they just list the menu as spaghetti and meatballs, but they don't talk about how delicious their homemade sauce is and how they make home pasta from hand and how they use the best cuts of beef for their meat, all of it. They don't ever talk about that. So again, this is sort of on the same line. And then another content is how trust has built my solid reputation. Uh, Client trust is everything. All great relationships are built on trust. So talk about that. And also what it means to you as an agent to be trusted, with representing people in one of the largest transactions they're likely to make in their lifetime. And then here's one, my marketing strategy is caring for clients. Putting clients first. I love it. And then share those client testimonials, but don't just post them, share the story behind them. I think that is so important that a lot of people just share the sold posts and they might say, so happy for my clients. That's not inspiring. Trust me, there's a story that goes behind this transaction that I think, would get you a lot more traction on social media than just sharing the actual facts of it. Just taking a mindset moment. If you look at these two graphs, always missing the target, that is not the failure. It is 100% not the failure. The failure is never even trying. So commit to stepping outside of your comfort zone. I love it. Okay, I'm going to share with you my strategic way to get new followers on Instagram. First off, I love connecting with people, so I'm not afraid to ask anybody to connect with me. I really just started amping up my YouTube channel. So if I haven't hit you up yet to follow me on YouTube, don't worry, you'll get a message from me. Anyway, I verbally ask everybody, the following people to connect with me on Instagram. And why Instagram? It's because I have no trouble getting people on Facebook. I don't know that anybody does. I think Instagram, it's a different network. So if our many followers on Facebook, if they're not on Instagram, it can be more challenging to grow on Instagram, depending though. There's also a lot of other people on Instagram that we haven't met yet, so it's kind of cool in that way. So I ask the following to connect on Instagram. So I ask all of my personal connections, if they're on Instagram, let's connect, my sphere of influence, affiliates. And then I ask my clients prior to closing. If the transaction went well, and most of them do, then I would ask them if they're open to connecting online. Keep in mind, I will share this. Occasionally, some people will say, I actually just keep that for my close family and I'm never on it. And that's totally fine. You have to know sometimes they're just not going to be open to it for whatever reason. And take them for face value. Don't take it personal or whatever. And that's fine. And then small business owners, I'm going to I'm going to share a strategy that I incorporated out here, and it's working pretty good for me. And that is, I go into a business that I do legitimately want to check out. So I shop and I may purchase some things. And then I always ask permission if I can take a video or a few photos to share on social media. And then explain that I'm a small business owner in the area and would love to share my experience with my followers. And then I say, would you be open if I were to write a Google review of my experience? Are you on Google? 9.9 out of 10 people say, oh my gosh, yes, please, we would love that. That's epic. Great. And then lastly, I say, would you guys be open to following me on social? And usually the person, if they're not in charge of the social media, they'll be like, yeah, hold on, let me get the manager. So it's usually done right then and there. They ask me for my social handles, they're following me, I'm following them back, and I do what I say. I do write them a review on Google, and I share it. I also share it on social. I think I've shared this several times in past classes. It's what I call the reverse review scenario, where I actually I do this whole thing. I get them to follow. I ask them if they'll follow me. I do follow them, and I do write the 5-star review on Google, and then I also share the 5-star review on my social media. So they're loving me at this point. And this is a great way to get additional followers. So love that. Because you don't always want real estate followers, although yes, there are, and so I'll talk about them here, some other real estate followers besides agents. And it's great to have connections with agents on social. I think it's great because you get inspiration, the camaraderie, the support, and all of that is there and alive, and it's great. But here's specifically what I do to get more people that are not agents. And I do have a great following of agents as I follow back the agents too. But here are some other people that I do this with. So I search for people who are more apt to follow me back, and these are people that are also growing their social medias. People like lenders, attorneys, title companies, as I said, other agents as well, but photographers, stagers, landscapers, and all kinds of contractors, home inspectors, and new local businesses. But also existing local businesses, I would add to this too. The reverse review works tremendously with all local businesses, new or older. And then I look for profiles with a higher number of accounts that they're following than what they have as followers, because that to me says they're more apt to follow back. And I also check to make sure that they're following a lot of other local accounts, not mass market pages like Pottery Barn, Macy's, and that's fine if they follow those pages. I'm just saying what I have noticed is sometimes I'll go in to people that have a higher number of accounts they're following, but they're all, the mass market pages. So that's not what I'm looking for. And then I also check to see when the last time they've posted, because that gives me a sense of how active that they are. And then I also look to see who engages a lot with other pages that I follow. So for instance, if I follow, ABC Title Company, well, that's a bad example. If I follow ABC, let's say, Wellness Center, and they get a lot of interaction by other wellness people, other wellness specialists, and then I go to their pages and see their following, and I start to do this whole scenario. So this works, and I do believe it's important to mix it up again, not just having the lenders, the agents, and all that. I get that. But let's start to focus also on local businesses and even local musicians, local artists. I mean, it's endless. So I would look for that too. I would definitely add that to this list. All right, let's get into some other online sites to help you grow your brand. Again, this is Social Media Plus Masterclass. So we'll also be introducing occasionally other ways to grow your business. And here's a list of those companies. Okay, Nextdoor. If you're not on Nextdoor, you should be, because this is a great community-based site where local people interact. So you definitely want to be on Nextdoor. I think it's an amazing way to help realtors grow their business and connect locally. Also, Thumbtack is another, and it's free, where people can go in. It's like an Angie's List, but it's free, and they do have an agent section on Thumbtack. Yelp is another great website that agents can. Now, they also have upgraded memberships. They all do, where you can pay and be boosted and all this other, but that's up to you whether you want to do that or not. Here's the #1 website every single agent needs to be on. I can't stress this enough, is Google My Business. There was a sort of a master class that I think Johnny Fallon did with Lair, and he spoke about his experience with the setup and how Google is also helping him grow his business by way of providing leads. So I would definitely get on Google. I will say I've done it, and the setup was a little irritating, to say the least. But once everything got ironed out and confirmed, my business profile is up and running, and I have almost 50 reviews. So I'm working on, getting all my Zillow reviews now over, having my people write them on Google. So it's a process and it's a journey, but I have to say, I think most people, most buyers check out agents on Zillow, and I would say most sellers check out agents on Google. But Google is the go-to for everybody. I mean, anything and everything. It's the #1 search engine in the world. So I would say if you want to be seen, and it's free. You don't have to pay to get a Google business profile. So definitely do it. But I will say this, a tip is read every single requirement that they want. And if you happen to skip one, they won't approve your page. So That's why I say it's a little irritating in that way, but it's great once it gets going. So I would definitely highly recommend that. And then YouTube. YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world, second only to Google. I would highly recommend that you have a YouTube channel. A couple of the things that I would recommend that you do, you can do this very quickly in Canva, is if you happen to be recording your videos, um, I record them here on my iMac and then I wrap them, I call it wrapping, in Canva. So I just drag the video from the software, the video recording software, right into Canva. It uploads, and then I have my template where I plop it into. So that's on social media. But then I've also created template for YouTube because it is a different size. Fortunately, because I'm recording it on my computer, it's big. So, and then, so yes, I would say the only downside is that you are sharing it from your social, you're resizing it to your YouTube. But then there's also YouTube Shorts that are in that same format if you are doing your videos, um, portrait, I guess, portrait style. Anyway, so this is my YouTube channel that I've created. Love it if you'd follow me at The Real Renee Tompkins. And I have a playlist for buyers, sellers, the brokerage, and then a testimonial playlist. But I would recommend you definitely just start small when it comes to YouTube. Number one, set up your channel, make the branding consistent with all of your social media. So across the board, anybody can search for me at The Real Renee Tompkins. And my social is always, the name is always Renee Tompkins, your key to success. And so it's across the board, that's what it is. And once you get in the habit of, okay, yeah, I've just uploaded the video, let me resize it. And at the end of the day, if you have it landscape, I don't know that it would even be such a big deal. You don't even have to take the time to resize it. You don't necessarily have to have cover. They're called thumbnails. You don't have to do that. I chose to do that for the aesthetic look of the channel, but you don't have to take the time to do this, is what I'm saying. The purpose of sharing your content is to make sure that it can help you grow your business and you're providing, you're coming from contribution and providing value to clients, so potential clients. So, and whenever you now are marketing yourself, if you're ordering calendars, you're ordering new business cards, remember to put all of your social, excuse me, handles on this stuff. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, wherever you are, put those little icons on so people know where they can connect with you. I think, in fact, I know some of the agents on our team have gotten business from social media from their video content. Never knew the person, but again, met them that way. So there are people watching your videos, and I would say, why would you avoid the #2 search engine in the world just because it takes a few more minutes to add the content over there? Really, I mean, that's it. I am copying and pasting the caption. I'm putting it in, the video description, and I'm publishing it. It's really not, it doesn't take that long. And I'm telling you, in my opinion, it's worth it. And no, am I getting the views on YouTube that I'm getting on Instagram? No, I'm not, but I'm getting additional views. So I think it certainly is important to have a YouTube channel. All right, let's get to some tips for getting reviews. First off, I would say make it easy for people to write reviews about you. If people have to search for you, and I will say this with Google, they have to search for you the exact way that you appear. So if you have a hyphen, or you have like Amy Smith, realtor, Massachusetts realtor, and they search for Amy Smith, realtor, Mass, you will not come up. So that's the challenge with, I will say, one of the challenges with Google. So that's why I say, get the link. In your dashboard, it will say, ask for more reviews, copy this link. It's very easy. You do the same thing in Zillow. I also start incorporating Facebook so people can post their testimonials on Facebook or reviews. There's a review tab on your professional page. If you have a professional page, some people have, it's recommendation. It's actually a recommendation now, where people can certainly share their experience with you. And then, so include the direct link to these pages and then list them all in one email. Don't ask for a review on Zillow and then chase them 3 months later for a review on Google, unless at the time, like me, you didn't have a Google page. Now you do, so now you're chasing. But I would say, make sure you have all your links in one email. And then definitely, definitely, definitely ask them before closing. This was a strategy I learned probably in like my second year. I realized I'm like, once the deal closes, I'm chasing these people for reviews. I have to come up with a different strategy. And so I started asking once the commitment was issued, because I knew we were still at least a week out typically, and they were going to see me at closing. So, and I would ask them twice. I would say, yeah, if you could do that, that would be great. And so if 3 days went by and they didn't write the review, I would check in just to make sure that the link worked. Oh yeah, and so typically on that second ask, that is when they did the review. Um, all right, and then and also don't ask for the review when you know they're typically at work, or if you know their schedule is not conducive to it, the time that you're sending that email, then don't send it then. Try to, and you can schedule your emails, so schedule it when you know the time works best for them. And then obviously follow up if they haven't done it. I think a lot of people ask for the review but never follow up because they don't want to bother. Trust me, you're not bothering. You've earned that review. So, do that. And then reward the behavior. If somebody takes the time to share their experience online, either take them to lunch or send them a gift card. But don't do this. Don't say, if you do this, I'll do this. Here's the thing though, you can sort of say, I'm doing a drawing at the end of the year for all of my clients. If you haven't written a review yet, now's your time to get in. You're not saying you're giving them the reward. You're thanking everybody for taking the time to do it by drawing a winner. So that's different. But these are some suggestions. Let's take a mindset moment. You don't get results by focusing on results. You get the results by focusing on the habits and behaviors that produce those results and enjoying the journey. I have to say, so many of us stop what we're doing or quit, give up on something because what we desired didn't happen in the timeline in which we deemed that it should have happened in. And so many of us stop things where, maybe we don't post videos, we don't stick with a geo farm, we don't do enough open houses because for whatever reason, oh, that open house was dead. I've hosted 4 open houses in a row. I'm not doing them anymore. And then somebody flips a light switch and open houses are crazy. So please stick with things. And that comes down to enjoying the journey. I think if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're going to find a way to get out of it. And so that is, and I always say, romanticizing the journey, falling in love with the journey, falling in love with the day-to-day of the job. And many of you might be rolling your eyes right now, but this is an actual technique and it's science and it's proven. And I do this sometimes when I find myself getting in a funk or for whatever reason, just not vibing with the day or whatever. I have to remind myself, like sit and remind yourself, are you serious? Like first off, sometimes that means I have to go back and even remember how diligently I studied to get my license and how hard I worked to get to that moment, right? And so remember your journey and think about how far you've come. So I think stuff like that's super important. All right, let's get into calls to action and hook statements to use. And you can use these in many ways, and we'll talk about that in a second. So calls to action are crucial when it comes to getting the results you seek on social media. But again, here's a list of the other ways that you can start using them, because here's the thing. Once you start using calls to action, you can use them. They'll just become fluid, right? So I started using them in in my written my written social media, but now, I will use them at an open house. They just start flowing. So here's some examples of where to use them. In your bios, definitely end your bios with an invitation inviting people to connect with you. That's so important. Your social media posts, if you're with Layer, those are already done for you. Your website pages, Again, always invite people to connect with you. If you've got a buyer page and you've highlighted the buyer journey at the bottom, let's connect, and then with a contact page. Um, Landing pages or contact pages, absolutely. Videos, always end your videos with a call to action. Emails. I see something that's not even on here, I'm going to add. Letters, postcards, flyers, sign-in sheets, right? A sign-in sheet, consultations, because now they become part of, you're writing them, your inner dialogue is saying them, you're saying them on video. What happens? You start saying it at consultations and in conversations. Here's one thing that's not on here is open houses, which it could be a conversation, but so super important to start implementing them in your strategies. Let's talk about some hook calls to action. And that is one thing I would say is avoid using the C caption or C link in bio, because that I like the link. I love the link tree and I love it for certain things. But when I'm talking to somebody in a video, and I do always believe that I am talking to people, I'm not just talking to a camera, I'm talking to people. I want to keep their interest right here. And yes, certainly check out my link tree at some other point, but I don't want you floating around too soon. So some calls to action that you can start implementing. Thank me later. Here's my secret strategy. Oh my God, you will not believe this. I love that one. Or you won't want to miss this. I use that a lot. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I have used that several times, and I've used this next one. Here's what no one else will tell you. And I did a video on this estimate, so you can check it out. My client let me have it, and that maybe is the spin on you getting a 5-star review. And someone has to say it. It might as well be me. So just some unique, and here's another thing. Oh my gosh, please take this tip. Take this tip to heart. Don't spill all the beans in the headline or caption. You want people watching your videos. The algorithm will favor your video on, on social media the more it's viewed. So you want people viewing, in YouTube also, you want people viewing your videos. If you tell them everything that's in the video, then why would they watch the video? So if anything, you want to be using those hook statements in your captions. Tell them just a little teeny bit about what they can expect from watching the video, what they're going to get out of it, but don't tell them the details of how you solved the problem or how you did this, or that's for them to watch. Use the hook CTA for sure. Another mindset moment, nothing great ever came from the comfort zone. This is 100% true. So again, this whole social media masterclass is always about stepping out of your comfort zone and doing and trying new things. All right, we're getting ready to wrap up. This slide is typically always in my masterclasses because I love it. And it's a mindset thought that I want each of you to have every day, is always think strategically and see the big picture. Who can I connect with today and how can I provide value? Absolutely be thinking this, because if your thought is to, how can I help solve the problem? You'll look for ways to do that. If you come at the day with, a victim mindset or, all the things you're not achieving, then again, you'll look for ways to prove that too. So set yourself up for success and always be thinking, who can I connect with today and how can I provide value? Let's get into some mindset successes, and then I've got an epic book recommendation. Mindset success is one day you'll realize that true success is not the way things look, but how they feel. Brianna Wiest is one of my very favorite authors. She's written, I want to say 3 books now, one of which I have recommended in a past masterclass called The Mountain Is You. She's an amazing writer. Absolutely love her. Another favorite is Mel Robbins, who says, start before you're ready. Just do it. Just let's get it done. Don't go for perfection. Go for getting it done. And I immediately stopped the perfection thing. When I started making videos on social media, once I get the content out and I know I've not misspoken, I got my intro, got the bulk of the content. I ended it with a call to action, an invitation to reach out. I post it and I don't rewatch it because I'm not going to sit there and critique myself. I don't do it. So I feel like, again, progress over perfection. Start before you're ready and just do it. Take the deep dive. Another favorite by Brene Brown is authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. And this, again, hugely helpful with social media. And I'm going to talk, before I give my book recommendation, I am going to talk about a conversation that Mel Robbins had with Oprah Winfrey. You are only confined, or excuse me, you're confined only by the limits you set for yourself. We have a lot of rules in our lives and ways that our life should be. And I think anytime we're pushed out of that, we push back. And that's not where growth happens. So Tony Robbins says, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. So again, if you want to switch up your strategy, your business growth, social media is nothing but full of opportunity, and most of it's free outside of the time that you invest. And if you are boosting any ads or doing anything financially outside of that, it is a free opportunity for you to connect. Really, where the growth happens is where we need to be very purposeful, intentful, and not going down on the clicking the ads, and now you're not really being productive on social media. Last mindset is if you don't ask, the answer is automatically no, which is, again, you are building a business. So I want to share briefly a conversation that Mel Robbins had with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah had interviewed her about her recent book, The Let Them Theory, which I did complete, and it's epic. And I did recommend it last month. If you haven't listened to it or read it, absolutely get it. She actually touched on social media. And so Mel shared a story about how she was building her business, her consult, I think she just is a consultant or consultant business. And she really wasn't doing much on social media. And one of her coaches said to her, why are you not sharing all this on social media? And, she really had to be honest with herself. And it really boiled down to her not wanting to share because she was afraid of what people would think of her, of what her friends would talk about, and she realized the power she was handing over to her friends. And really what she had to do, number one, was make peace with these people because it was all in her head too. She had no proof that was ever going on. So she went through her whole journey about it. And ultimately, as you know, she has a very strong presence now all over social media. And she's not afraid of putting herself out there by any means. But she shares her journey. And I thought a lot of you could relate to it. So I did recommend it last month. And as I finished it, it is slowly, as I was slowly going through the book, I definitely am listing it as a favorite for this year and a game changer for me. But I do have another recommendation for this month, and it's by Brene Brown. It's The Gift of Imperfection. I don't know that this is a brand new book. In fact, I don't think it is at all. But she's another rock star, and I would highly recommend you get this. Not expensive at all. It is available by audio and also in paperback. One of the quotes from the book that she shares is, wholehearted living is about engaging with our lives from a place of worthiness. So believing your worth is so, so, so important. And I look forward to chatting about this book with you next month because I will definitely be starting it. I've enjoyed spending time with you today. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, I am available on all of the platforms listed here, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. And like I said, I just started my YouTube. So if you'd like to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Always email me, and Pinterest too. Email me if you want, me to subscribe, send me your links. I'm glad to support you. That would, and again, look for me on all of them at The Real Renee Tompkins. And then, I did share that already. Thank you again, as always, for watching. The next masterclass will be at the end of April. So you can sync your calendars with the Lair training calendar by going to www.lairrealty.com/training, and then sync your calendar so you never miss an opportunity to learn and grow. But I will see you at the end of April for next month's masterclass. Thank you for joining me.